All right, I'll say greetings to you all this evening of your time as you create time to exist. How are you? Well, thank you very much. You're all alive. We will begin this interaction this evening with the entitlement, you are home. Allow us to explain the following idea. We notice quite often within your society, your civilization, a penchant for the notion of going home. Very often, this is phrased in the form of a literal escape from the reality that you are in back to perhaps what you may perceive to be a slightly more preferential reality. The idea then arises that there is some home to which you will go, and perhaps you are now on some type of field trip. Allow us to begin by expressing simply that as each and every one of you are a discrete individual, you will always maintain that individuality. As you begin, in that sense, to incarnate, as you say, within the, shall we say, framework of a timeline in your various lives, everything around you seems to change. The people seem to change if you create the type of reality that contains them at all. The buildings, the places around you seem to change. But interestingly enough, you will always perceive yourself, even though you may think entirely differently and have an entirely different approach to life, as the same you. So therefore, we have discussed many times that change is the only constant. So even you will constantly be changing. But if there is some idea that would seem to have a degree of permanency, so to speak, it will be that you will still, no matter how sweeping these changes may be, always perceive yourselves to still be you, a discrete individual. As you begin in that sense to allow yourself to expand into the other dimensions and levels of your beingness, you will always perceive that everything else is merging into you. The paradox lies within the fact that each and every discrete viewpoint will also experience the same thing. Therefore, nothing from any perspective is ever lost, and most literally, only gained. For as in that sense you allow yourself to collect back, shall we say, portions of yourself that you have expressed externally, it will all seem to merge into you. You, each and every one of you, will perceive this to be happening. And this is one of the prime factors, one of the prime multi-dimensional ideas within all that is. Each and every one of you creates their own discrete universe. You each expand into that universe. As you expand, you seem to contain the very realities that you used to perceive you existed within. So the bottom line is, as everything changes, there is a portion of yourself that remains the same. And that is the only idea that remains consistent. Even it changes again in its expression, but your core level beingness, what we have referred to as your signature vibration, in a sense, although it may become enhanced, remains fundamentally the same. Therefore, no matter where you ever are, no matter where you ever go, you are home. Home is not somewhere to escape to. You are home. And no matter where you ever are ever, you bring home with you. We wish to make this very clear. For again, as you expand into fourth density, it will not be from the framework of escaping the miserable third. No. It will be through the true understanding that you chose this particular style of limitation to be able to maintain focus. Focus, in the way that we are defining it for the purposes of this discussion, is unique to physical reality. When you are focused, it possibly seems as though it would be hard to picture how you would exist in a more diffuse state, but exist you will. And maintain that individuality, you will. But once you understand that you yourself are home, then you can never feel in that sense. Once you understand this in your heart of hearts, you will never feel out in the dark. By expressing most fully within any reality that you have chosen who you are, you ground yourself into the very reality that again you have chosen to be within. So it is not a matter of escaping from here. Perhaps, if anything, if you would like to give it a label, it is allowing yourself to, quote unquote, figure out, after you've already taken for granted that you've chosen to be here, why. Now, you can do this in a very hodgepodge manner and have this be quite, shall we say, random. Or you can simply trust your heart of hearts. Trust your higher self's message to your physical self, so to speak. That being your excitement. That is why it excites you. We have discussed this many times. But the idea is why something moves you. Why it attracts your attention. Why it allows you to desire it with all the emotion you can muster is because it is an indication of who you are choosing to be in that particular mode of your beingness. When you realize, foundationally speaking, that you are home, then wherever you go, you consciously bring home with you. Very often in your society, you have the statement that home is where the heart lies. Perhaps that is partially accurate. Again, we remind you, your consciousness is not within your body is within your consciousness. But from the perspective of this particular focus, that particular energy chakra, as you call it, does allow you to sense or feel the homeness within you. So in a sense, the warm feeling that you may allow yourself from time to time to experience in the area of your heart is an indication, energetically speaking, of your connection to your center, which is your home. Therefore, you can now begin to walk in your endeavors and understand that you are within a reality you have chosen. If you acknowledge that you have chosen it, you can begin to give yourself the opportunity to see why you have chosen it. Part of the joy in and of itself of this style of reality, whereby you limit your consciousness so you don't know it all, is for the discovery itself, is for the unrolling, the unfurling, the unfoldment along a timeline of what you are choosing to explore. And as we have also shared, when you already know it all, nothing is new. Nothing is learned. Nothing is discovered. And there are no surprises. Therefore, part and parcel of this particular style of physical reality, with the imposition of a self-forgetfulness, is the joy in and of itself of the unfoldment, of the discovery, and your willingness to simply state to the universe in no uncertain terms, I have chosen this, reorients your vision to be able to begin to see why you have chosen it, and the joy in the discoveries that you have chosen to experience. Not just think about, but physically experience. This is quite a unique reality in that way. Understand one other immediate connection that you always have with your home, which again, as we have described, is within, is the idea that your home is always expressed in each and every now moment. And if you will begin to allow yourself to become grounded to right here, right now, you can always draw upon the warmth of the hearth of your home. If you spend your now moments lamenting about a perceived past, bumming out about an unpreferred imaginary future, you cut off that connection in that moment. You are simply not utilizing the moment to its fullest advantage, because the things you are projecting, either backward along your timeline or forward, simply are not available in that moment. And by your willingness to place attention upon the past, perceived past, or the dreaded future in some cases, you do not allow yourself to see in any given now moment what's right there. You can say that that projection of pasting and futuring, in a sense, are a particular style of glasses that obscure your near-sighted vision and create a seeming far-sighted vision. But each and every moment contains within it near-sighted advantages, near-sighted opportunities. So therefore, if you will simply allow yourself to bring yourself back into the moment, in a sense, you raise those glasses from your eyes and you allow your vision to expand to be able to literally see what's right in front of your face. What's in every single moment, every single here, every single now, is everything you possibly need. When you are pasting and futuring, you do not allow yourself to see it. When you do not allow yourself to see it, you create the seemingness of being cut off from your source, cut off from your very home. When you, in a sense, more consciously decide to simply forget the perceived past and the perceived future, thereby again consciously imposing a forgetfulness, you begin to remember, make part of your club a new member, remember what's already right there. So, allow us to capsulize that home is within. Wherever you go, home follows. In your waking daytime dream that you wake up into, home is always there. In your sleeping nighttime dream that you quote-unquote fall asleep into, you bring home with you there as well. It is within. And you can always reestablish your connection with that home, with that center, by grounding yourself in any given moment. A very simple way to look at it is as follows. When you are weighing what is right in front of you in any given moment, we have suggested using your excitement as a criteria. For all excitement is linked by definition. It is all an expression of who you are. But allow us now to add the idea that when you are weighing what is immediately available, many of you throw into the choices many things that are not immediately available. This confuses the issue. This takes the attention off of what is immediately available. So when you are beginning to view what your choices are in each and every moment, allow yourself to choose from what is available. And what is not, if it crosses your consciousness, simply allow it to continue on its merry way. When the now moment arrives that you can act upon that particular thing, perhaps it will be the most exciting thing of what's available. But then you will be choosing in every moment only from what you can act on and not throwing in various ideas that do not conform to your exploration of timing and allowing them to, so to speak, knock you off center, pull you out of your very home. So this idea of understanding home is within and combining it with understanding that home is in the moment will be most helpful. We will proceed with the interaction, for there are many questions, many discussions, many discoveries this evening of your time. However, before we proceed, allow us to also mention something else. Now that you're all right at home, we're assuming, you are now grounded enough for us to share something with you. In the second half of this interaction, after what you call your break, we will take a little trip. We will explain at that time how this will work, for you will all stay seated. Perhaps you will, in that sense, perceive physically, I have gone nowhere. But go somewhere you will. Allow us, again, before opening up the interaction, to simply explain that one of our many mothercraft are directly in your vicinity. And in the second half of this interaction, we will, en masse, visit that craft. Therefore, allow us now to once again, and for the first time, thank you for your willingness to interact with us, for your willingness to participate in perfect timing, for your willingness to rediscover and establish your home within, and for your willingness to stay grounded in the moment so that we can fly. Therefore, in exchange for your willingness to interact and begin to expand into the many levels that you are, and also act as ambassadors, we ask you now, how may we be of service to you? Sharing. All right, I'll say, are you all ready for our little trip?
Yes.
All right. Before we proceed, allow us to remind you that your imagination is the very faculty through which your higher self expresses your physical self. Your higher self imagines your physical self, literally. Therefore, your existence in this way, in and of itself, is a product of the imagination of your higher self. You are a representation of that higher self. You therefore also possess that faculty, your imagination. It is a projection, a projector of reality. In general, you define that reality to be unreal, but it is just as real. Just as your nighttime sleeping dream reality is just as valid a reality as this, so is the reality that is projected from your imagination. It is another form of reality projection. Therefore, in whatever way your imagination provides you with symbology, in whatever way your imagination provides representational symbols, in whatever way these images are cloaked or clothed, you will be aboard that craft in an energy state. And when you, in that sense, return, what will be added unto you will be just as real as any physical memory that you have. It will add to the vibrational matrix that you define as your personality. It will be combined unto your totality as an experience. So therefore, again, validate whatever you get. Your imagination is individualized to you, so you will each get a very finely tuned representation of this particular visitation. Close your eyes. Allow yourselves to understand that you are all literally facets of the same one crystal, each a unique, brilliant, reflective facet. For the purposes of the transportation of your consciousness to our mothercraft, allow yourselves within your imagination to gather yourselves together as a unit, each fitting in your particular facet into the overall crystal of energy that you all are. If there is next to you in your imagination a particular facet which seems to represent a being or a person that is not physically present in this interaction, you can understand that the individuals who will partake and participate in this particular interaction will also do so on your tape. Therefore, some of those individuals, though they physically not occupy the same time span as we are within, and may listen to a version of this interaction, quote unquote, later, when they project themselves upon the craft with that listening, they will occupy the facets that appear to represent no one. Therefore, you may find a few extra facets in there. For this interaction, this particular occurrence is multidimensional, and therefore it is not bound to what you label a timeline. As you picture yourselves gathered together, understand your connection to one another. Understand the other facets, each one to be an extension of you, part of you. And as in that sense you do collect yourselves together, begin to infuse the overall crystal with a white light and allow it to form around all of you. Understand that even though this is a white light, it is quite transparent. Therefore, while you are embedded within this energy field, this isolation field, similar to the field around our craft that allows us to isolate ourselves from any given reality that you can see through at this moment in your imagination, the white field, and perhaps see what you label to be the room you are in on the other side. As you allow yourself to imbue this picture, and the light increases in intensity, slowly allow the room just beyond the field to begin to dissolve. As you do, allow it to be replaced with the gray, limbo, fog. Understand that this fog, this gray mistiness, is the zero rest state. This particular place is the center of all creation, whereby anything is equally possible. Anything is equally manifestable. Therefore, understand now that you have isolated yourselves as a crystal, each one of you facets of it, within this limbo field, isolation state. Before we proceed, allow me briefly to brief you. The craft which has been brought into your sphere can be described as a cylinder. It is a tube within a tube, within a tube, within a tube. The central core along the longitudinal axis for all decks will represent up. Therefore, you are walking on the concave surface, and up will always seem to be the center. As we begin to infuse into the outer shell of the craft, what you will more than likely at first perceive, and allow your imagination to give you any variation upon this, is the idea of a gray fog. The reason for this particular manifestation is this enables you to call forth from that fog, that potentiality of energy, any aspects of our craft at your own pace, at your own timing. Understand now, as you do begin to enter the craft, that you notice within the gray fog the idea of many figures solidifying, many individuals. Allow yourself at whatever rate, at whatever timing is comfortable to you, to explore the craft. You will always be connected to the individuals that you traveled with, for you are all part of the same crystalline energy seed. However, you can, if you wish, teleport from deck to deck. Spontaneously, allow yourself to be attracted to whatever interactions you will find to be most enjoyable. Understand that it is no accident wherever you find yourself aboard the craft, and that whatever individuals you interact with will be exactly the individuals that will enable you to find out more about yourself and at the same time explore aspects of our civilization. Understand that there will be different ideas for different individuals, and there is no one way. Understand that you are infused within a field, within the craft of energy that is representative of the collectivity of our consciousness, of our civilization. And we will allow for but a few moments of your time for you to mill about, round and about the craft at your own pace and your own timing. Understand that the many individuals round and about you love you greatly. There is no such thing upon our craft as anything you would label uncomfortable ideas, judgment, separation. Therefore, you will always be greeted as equals. You will always be greeted as individuals worthy of the attention. You will always be greeted by whatever individuals will, in that sense, be representative of ideas that will help you expand in your growth and self-awareness. The images being provided by your imagination for you at this time are, shall we say, interpretations into your understanding of many ideas which simply have no translation. Therefore, allow them simply to continue to manifest within your consciousness without any thought, without any analysis, and simply allow yourself to explore in whatever way, shape, or form is most comfortable to you, whatever it is that you attract. As you wander about the craft, realize and allow yourself to feel the collective unconditional love from our stream of consciousness, for we revel and enjoy these interactions with you, and do not in that sense always allow individuals upon our craft. Therefore, you are invited. Enjoy. Make particular note of anything that is offered to you from any individuals that are interacting with you at this time, and also, if you wish and possess any gift you wish to give, please feel free to share it. Understand that you are viewed by us at all times as a gift, each and every one of you, yourselves. And slowly also understand that being part of the same multidimensional crystal, each and every one of you are connected. And know, even though you may explore on your own, explore individually from and upon the various decks of the craft, that you are all connected. That you are also as well connected to the idea of the stream of consciousness of our civilization directly. Lastly, understand that there has been the idea that you label the unfoldment of time, and therefore, though this interaction may appear in that sense to take only a brief amount of your time, much in that sense is occurring that will be imprinted on what you label to be your memory. Therefore, your conscious awareness will have a particular set of memories, and as you do proceed on with your day, your night, of your time, you will also find other ideas to unfold, for much more has occurred than at this point you are able to interpret. So simply allow the interaction as it continues, and begin, bit by bit, to collect yourselves back together into one place upon the craft. As you collect yourselves back together into one central core of individuals, allow again the reinstallation of what you would label the field of white light, electromagnetic energy, representing the isolation field to begin to form around you. As you do and understand that the idea of the spacecraft begins to fade from your view, and you begin in that sense to head back toward your planet, your Earth, understand the following. The idea is, as you visualize your emerald crystal Earth, that Earth contains all the beauty, all the love, and all the splendor that you perceive to exist upon our craft. Therefore, understand that you are not going from a better place to a worse place, but bringing back many ideas that you find favorable to your already favorable Earth. Allow yourself slowly to, again, instill the idea of the gray fog as the limbo state, as the center where all things are potential, remanifest round and about you. Slowly, at whatever pace is comfortable for you, allow yourselves again to reappear in your room, in your evening of this time, and allow the expression of your individuality once again to become individual. Allow yourselves to understand that you are always connected, both to us, but also to each other. And the idea is that anything that you perceived upon our craft, again, to be most wonderful, is simply already residing within you. Otherwise, you would not have perceived it. Therefore, it is not as though you need lament in any way, shape, or form that you have left our craft. You have, in that sense, an open invitation. But the idea is that this experience has added to the equation that you label yourself to be. And therefore, much again of this interaction will enter your conscious awareness a bit at a time. Allow yourselves again, at whatever rate is comfortable, to again return to your chair, to your room, to your night, to your Earth. Allow us now to proceed with a sharing. In that sense, you may, to whatever degree you are moved to do so, share with us the experience that occurred with you upon our craft, and allow us to make, where and when perhaps necessary, synchronous identifications of what it is you experienced. In some cases we will, in other cases we will simply allow your sharing to speak for itself. Who will be first?
Bashar.
Yes.
My experience in the common areas was that there wasn't a great deal of external symbols. There weren't a great many external symbols, as though, it's...
Do you mean upon the craft?
Upon the craft, it's like if you needed something, it would be there.
Thank you very much. Allow us to explain two things. The substance of the craft, if you will, is similar to the substance of what we have described as our domicile. They are literally, in a sense, self-aware, crystalline computers which have the ability to simply exude whatever is needed and retract when you are through with that particular idea. Any idea that you would normally label television, screens, control panels, are simply bypassed altogether, for we are, and the commander of each craft is, directly linked to the craft. So what in a sense occurs is this: rather than there being the necessity for what you label monitor screen, that particular aspect of the brain of the pilot, that if he were to actually look upon a screen, would be enacted to produce the image of the screen for perception, is simply stimulated directly from the computer, from what you might label a harmonic resonance, similar to one tuning fork, and another one exactly the same. By hitting one, the second one then vibrates, similar to that idea. And the idea is an image will appear in the brain of the pilot or anyone who would need to, that would correspond to what you label the monitor screen. So it is directly into the brain itself. Therefore, you will find in general, in particular areas, very nondescript. Therefore, proceed.
In the common areas, what appealed to the eye and struck the eye most, in fact exclusively, were the people.
Yes. They do not exude and retract into the substance of the craft.
Very warm, very loving, very open, very receptive, and always acknowledged as I passed.
Did you in that sense perceive the open arms?
Yes.
All right.
It's like there was always time to acknowledge someone passing. It was not seen as an interruption in what one was doing. It was part of the experience of being together. In the common hallways, it was just beings and myself. And I was surprised I went to the recreational area, and it's an area in which you can recreate.
Oh, yes.
There's nothing particularly there.
Well, there would be in that sense were you to project your consciousness. It is similar to what many of you in that sense have created, very creatively, by the way, in your television show named The Holodeck. The idea being that, again, there can be a direct beaming in that sense of particular frequencies into the brain that can create what seems to be physically anything you wish. Therefore, recreation can be anything.
And the sleeping area was a sleeping area.
In a sense, that is more for the idea of visitors, for we do not sleep per se.
Mm-hmm. And where I saw the most structure was in the control room, the projection table and the like. The control panels per se look more like jewels in the wall, not elaborate machinery like I would expect or like I'm used to. But the projection table was the projection table, projection couch. And it was offered to me, it was extended to me, the invitation to use it at any time. However, I was reminded that I don't need the projection table to project my consciousness anywhere.
Oh, thank you very much.
That's totally available at any time. But I was flipping through the dials and just going from one planet to another. It was quite fascinating.
It is. And understand also what you brought back as a memory of jewels, for all your jewels are, in a sense, are crystals, is, shall we say, your interpretation of the crystalline structure of the walls themselves.
May I ask a question?
You may ask.
Does the name Aliota have any significance?
Yes.
And that is?
Next sharing. Yes.
My experience was of being immediately welcomed in the arms of a female being. I don't know her name.
Oh, yes, you do.
I didn't allow that to my consciousness. I'm open to if you want to share it with me, otherwise I'll wait for it to come. And it was a feeling of, I knew her, I know her, and coming home, and I feel very, very moved about this. And I felt
By the way, the feeling is shared from the other end. Do proceed.
I've been there before.
Oh, yes.
I experienced many things that he was just talking about. The feeling that most predominated was the love there, and the openness between the beings with me and those who are here.
Welcome to our society.
Thank you. A few things stand out. There was a place that I was taken to, and I didn't get, I now have a feeling I didn't get what it really is called, but my interpretation was it was like the mental health clinic or something. I know there's no such thing there. They don't need that. But it was a place where I felt that I would be conducting my role.
The idea, most generally, is that you were viewing what you might loosely label research facilities, and it was your interpretation of it being that it is your ilk of a mental health idea. But it is research in general about various societies. Some of them will be research into the particular style of mentality, and perhaps that is what you were tapping into.
And there's a position there for me.
In a sense, yes.
When I full, when I either, I don't know, when I go there, I don't.
Shall we say it's a future position?
Yes. Then I was laid on a table, and I felt that I was being worked on.
In a sense, by three individuals.
Yes.
The idea is one, in a sense, representing one style of polarity, one representing the other, and the third representing the integrational fulcrum between the two. This is, shall we say, perhaps you would say, a remnant, ritualized style of balancing within our society.
They were working on my energy.
In a sense.
Yes. First they worked on my mind, then my heart, and I felt the rest of me was okay at first, and then I saw myself giving birth. And I've been having dreams about being pregnant and being close to giving birth. So that's what I saw. I saw myself giving birth to a male who looked like a commander or something. And I felt a lot of joy in the atmosphere, and that was my experience.
Thank you very much. We relish it. And as well, you will also again find some ideas dripping into your awareness over the next few days. This applies to all.
Could you say anything about the birthing process?
What?
What that was all about?
In a sense, it is most literally what you would find obvious, a style of rebirth by the recognition of certain aspects of yourself that have always existed, but simply now you are acknowledging. When those portions represent many of the ideas that truly resonate with who you are that you have not been expressing, there can seem to be a literal rebirth.
Of myself.
Yes.
Okay.
But it is simply, more aptly put, an expansion into more of your totality.
I feel a lot of heat and energy around me right now.
Oh, how exciting. Have a good time. And to you. Who else?
Sure.
Ace, over there, then there.
Well, first I went to the ice cream shop where strawberry ice cream was served. It was excellent. That was something of a continuation of the break, I think.
By the way, that was for your convenience. We do not eat ice cream.
Then I went to your scientific laboratories where I viewed two very interesting creatures.
Describe.
One seemed to be in an aquarium type environment. It was like a bloated spider.
What was the other?
The other was something like a fish that had an eye in the very center of its body.
Very interesting that you would misinterpret this symbol. It was a dolphin. What you were viewing as the eye was what you would label the blowhole.
Oh, wow. Well, okay.
There are, again, only with direct agreement, particular dolphins from your planet, they are not indigenous to ours, that have allowed us to interact with them directly, and in that sense reside, so to speak, for the time being upon our mothercraft.
Oh, I see. What might have been seen in the case of the water spider flower, or whatever it was linked to the bottom.
The idea is that this would represent a life form which is not indigenous to either our or your planet. We cannot share too much of the actual details, but the idea is you did behold something quite unique.
Well, okay. Then I went to your quarters, where I wanted to say hello, of course, and it was suggested to me that now was not the time that you were transmitting.
Well, all right, in a sense. The greetings were accepted and returned.
Well, okay. And then I said, oh my gosh, here I have a wonderful opportunity to acquire knowledge, and I'm not utilizing it, so I went up to your library.
By the way,
Yes.
did you actually view the projection table upon which I and Elan were upon?
Yes.
Did you see Andrew? He was there.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes.
All
All right.
do proceed.
Then I went to the resource library. I use that symbolically. It was more
Yes.
of it was an environment, a very still environment, very stellar, quiet light, in which I asked to access all information acquired regarding the planet Earth. And so for a few seconds, I was exposed to that energy.
For longer than perhaps you perceived, and again, much of it will drip into your awareness. But do understand that this was not a library per se. Perhaps, and again, we do not mean this at all in the religious sense, you would call this the chapel. For the idea is that this is the room in which we have designated in that sense with a particular style of machinery, and we use the term quite loosely. The place aboard our craft that we go individually to quote-unquote communicate directly with all that is. So perhaps you can say the library, so to speak, that you are accessing is quite a large one. And the idea being that you may even liken it in a sense to what you label your Akashic records themselves.
It's a kind of prima. I had that thought.
Yes, the idea. Very good, very perceptive. Again, your ability to glean information from these records will be directly proportional to your willingness to validate what you get.
Exactly. And I had a flash too. It flashed now, flashes now. Just a thought. That when I was there and asked for the information, the title on the work handed me, so to speak, was "You Already Know It."
Oh, thank you very much. It is a very popular book upon your planet.
And I guess that, thank you for a very exciting visit.
Oh, and to you. Over there.
For sure.
Yes. How'd you like it?
Gee, I have to say I was so anxious for this to take place that I have to say I guess I'm a neophyte. And
Not really. But perhaps much of the interaction that will come to your awareness as time goes on may outnumber what you perceive to bring back. Simply share what you got.
I could feel myself traveling toward, I guess, your spaceship, but I was so anxious to follow the instructions that you were giving us that I guess I was concentrating more on that than actually getting there.
Well, again, there was the effect of the unfoldment of time, in a sense, so more occurred than seemed to within that period, and your willingness to simply loosen up rather than attempt to grab at the information will free it from, in that sense, what you perceive to be your memory.
I guess what I want to ask is if I really concentrate this evening, or is there another opportunity to visit your spacecraft during the next 24 hours? I feel like I
Individually,
get there.
yes. And again, it is ingrained, in a sense, within you much of the information that you need to do so. Simply recreate your version through your imagination of this interaction. En masse, we will do this another time. At least.
It was just exciting. I just don't feel I quite got there.
Well, you did. And the idea is that excitement and anxiety are the same energy. One with a positive interpretation, one with a negative. When you simply transform your anxiety into the mere excitement, you are surfing on the wave of our consciousness.
I had no feeling of anxiety, only excitement.
Oh.
Tremendous excitement.
Oh. Then you were there. The specifics, in that sense, will leak. But for now, validate whatever it was you got. Is there one particular aspect you can share?
Well, I guess I've just never, new to all this, and for me, it was the first time I felt like I was about to experience an out-of-body. I mean, I could just feel my mind or energy traveling forward toward, I guess, your spaceship.
Yes.
It was just a very intense feeling.
When we described upon the craft the idea of the gray fog from which many figures at your own pace would emerge, what did you see?
Well, I started to see that, and as soon as I was getting those things to take form, I heard you speak, and I would really concentrate on that rather than seeing this take place. I guess I placed too much emphasis
No, no, no. You did it just right.
on what you were saying, and so my perception is that I didn't quite get there.
All right. Pay particular attention for the next 3 nights to your sleeping dream reality. Much of this will come out. Perhaps you will wish to write it down if that is your style, and we will discuss it at another time. You were there. Therefore, now allow yourself access to your experience. More happened than you are realizing. Much of it happened on levels you consider to be unconscious. So therefore, your sleeping dream reality is generally a time at which you will enable yourself acceptably to access that unconscious. You were there, and we thank you.
I guess I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's an exciting prospect.
And to you as well. And if you wish to recreate this type of interaction in your imagination, even within the next 24 of your hours, we will still be in the area. And to you. Shed it. Over there.
Yes, well, I guess it's kind of long, but I was switching from, I felt like a kid in a candy store, basically. And at first, there was like so much I wanted to see, but then I felt like there was like flashes. I was one place briefly and then another, and I don't know if I was forgetting a lot of what happened in each place.
In a sense, you are taking in more than what you would typically label your ability to perceive, when, again, it will unfold. Do proceed with what you do remember.
Well, I just have a couple of questions. There was this one area that I went to that was, the only way I could describe it is kind of a pink diffused light, and then there was this other area where there were, there was people around. That was like, but there were these squares that were up above us, kind of off to the side, that were kind of lit and then circular at the bottom. I don't know. It's really hard to describe. I'm not sure what it was. It was just a real weird image, and when I saw them, I couldn't really think of what they were.
The ideas that you are describing would correspond most closely to what you would label part of the engineering deck. Therefore, what you were perceiving are aspects of what you would label our propulsion system, and the idea of the light is representative of what you might loosely label, and again, this is quite colloquial, an energy conversion chamber that feeds the main drive of the craft. Is there anything else?
Well, there was a lot, but no, that was the only thing I really had a question about. Yeah.
All right, can you describe one of the other ideas you found most enjoyable?
Well, the first place I went into, there was, I was also amazed at how little, decoration was there. It was just very, and then one part was like, I noticed color a lot, but it was gray, and then it seemed something like a chair, but there was only one, and then it had this, it was a very geometric shape where the back kind of almost reclined, but then it was all made out of one kind of material that almost looked like marble, but it was like a metallic. I don't know.
In a sense, again, it is a representational, shall we say, interpretation of the crystalline nature of the craft, and again, the idea of whatever furniture need be, simply presenting itself from the substance of the craft. But is there one more thing?
Are you like hinting at something?
Yes.
Did I see Andrea? I don't remember seeing Andrea on the table.
That was not the idea.
Okay. Could you give me a hint?
Oh, no.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll remember.
Perhaps then we will return to you. If you can simply remember one more general theme that you experienced, we will explain.
Okay.
And we thank you. Over there.
Sure.
Yes.
Good evening.
And to you. Greetings.
Very much.
And we thank you for the greetings.
My first impression when I got on the ship was that I wanted to go to the navigation system. And I had a feeling of shuffling over to an area, and I went, no, it's not what I want to look at. I've had one question that I've wanted to ask, and I either forget it or whatever. And the question was, do you have personal possessions? And at that thought, I wound up in a chamber. There was a very lovely woman there.
They all are.
And she presented to me a clear crystal that was shaped like your eye.
Well, how exciting.
And she offered it to me, and I went, no, that's not what I wanted. I don't want to take it.
The idea is that it was an offering of symbolically
Right, this was her.
being able to see, in a sense, through our eyes. Do proceed. You turned down no opportunities.
No, that just hit me, that's all. It was just, I got the idea that this was the most precious thing that was hers, and was so easily able to give it over without a second thought.
That still fits.
Yeah, I know. That was it. I mean, it answered my question, because I have this thing about possessions and being able to let go of them.
Perhaps you can say, from time to time in our explorations, being that we exchange much with our environment, that there are particular things that are on our person, but there is not such the idea of ritualized possessions that we hold on to for sentimental value, and if they are lost, we get all upset. No.
That's really all I had to say.
Oh, thank you.
Except that,
That was a lot.
yeah, the openness and just, come on in.
By the way, you are all capable of anything that you felt upon our craft. You could only create your version of it. Were you eminently able to also live that reality? So do understand that what you felt could only be experienced if you first contained it. Therefore, all the love, all the unconditionalness is also a possession of your own.
Thank you.
And to you over there.
For sure.
Ace.
When we arrived in the ship, I felt like there were many beings receiving me and hugging me, and in one in particular, a woman who I believe is my future self, and I don't know, but
Yes, you do.
yes, she was my.
And it is up to you.
She was so beautiful, and I felt her hair, and I just was so surprised at how it felt so soft, and it was really like we just stood there for a long time just hugging, and there was someone else to my left. I don't know. I think there was someone else there, like watching us.
A male.
Yes, reconnect, and connect and just being so excited. And I remember looking at her shoes. I don't know why they were funny, and she said, "Here, try them on," and it was just a funny thing to.
That, in a sense, was a symbology. What you would label to be the covering around our foot is, shall we say, attached to the rest of the garment, so it is most unlikely that they were taken off and exchanged, but it is the idea of, and listen to the wording, walking in the boots of another.
Yeah. And then I had said.
You are a creative.
I expressed to her that I was going to tell her my name, and I just didn't know what my name was to tell her.
Do you mean to tell me beyond words?
Yes.
Oh, how amazing. Understand we have no language.
So I asked for a name, and she gave me this box that was triangular, and it was hollow, and my name's in that box, or that's my name. Somehow she gave it to me. So
And then we just hung out for a little while longer because I didn't feel like anything excited me more than to be with her. And then I just popped into a few different places, or I didn't really seem like I was moving, but I was existing. And
we understand there is the literal teleportation from deck to deck.
right. Okay, so then I was having body work done, or some kind of energy work, and then I was doing energy work for them and showing them. And then I went to a show of light moving. I don't remember right now what it was like in the music, but it was more but it was more like color and waves and it was more.
The idea is this: upon your planet, you separate the idea of the vibratory representation that is light and the vibratory representation that is sound. When in that sense you share our style of reality, you can simultaneously integrate the two. So therefore, light can sing, and the idea is sound can be manifest visually.
Okay, that's pretty right. That's what it was that was happening. And I then was doing something for them, like a presentation of myself for them. I don't know what I was doing. I don't remember right now what I was.
In a sense, it was your version of an elaborate introduction. But because you were known as an essence telepathically, it is not literally precise that you rendered it, but simply allowed yourself to literally be sensed. Yeah. So therefore, there are no words in that sense that would describe that precisely.
So I wound up in the chair here, feeling like someone was still touching my chest and my neck, and holding, still here with me. Here with me.
We understand. The only place there is here, the only time is now.
Absolutely. So that was really clear.
And we thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next? Over there, then there.
One of the things I found most interesting when you initially said we were going to visit the spacecraft, that as soon as you said that, I was there. And the experience of being in two places simultaneously was very interesting, because as you were talking, I was up there and here. And the sensation of being on the craft, the heart chakra was just vibrating the whole time I was here and the whole time I was there. The amount of love that is just being on that ship.
Well, simply realize you were simply expressing what we discussed at the beginning of this interaction. You are home. You brought home with you and allowed yourself to experience that home is where your heart lies, even the energy of your heart.
The other thing I found interesting is there was a being there that was passing a crystal around and through my electromagnetic field, as though that was a way of doing healing and balancing.
In a sense, it is a way that, shall we say, jives, so to speak, with your particular belief system. You may consider it, in a sense, a cleansing, but more aptly, it was a balancing performed by you, utilizing the assistance of the others, that in that sense will result in a great deal of personal integration within you.
The other sense I got was a sense of community among all of the beings on the ship. It is not something that I have experienced to that degree.
Since you have imposed the forgetfulness upon yourself.
It was just amazing.
Well, thank you.
Also, a name came to me, which was Ashna.
Very good. What will you do with it?
I will explore it. I also know I have a future self on the ship.
Well, all right, you said that like you meant it. Which, by the way, is all the conscious commandment necessary to set it up.
The other thing that I enjoyed was leaving the crystal, which is my symbolized connection with you.
Aboard the craft.
Yes. and I appreciate the nurturing that you have provided in allowing me to remember and expand my consciousness over the last 8 months since we've been in communication. And I experience you being with me always.
And we thank you as well, and also remind you that more of what you have been experiencing the whole time was Elan. And we thank you. Over there.
Yes, Bashar.
Yes.
I didn't feel like I was anywhere.
Well, all right. How exciting. How did it feel to be nowhere?
It felt, I guess, it was just the feeling of just...
Did you perhaps have a particular expectation?
No.
All right.
But at some point before we went back to grounding, sort of back to opening our eyes, I did see briefly what seemed to be a silver room, and somebody wearing a silver type outfit. But I
Silvery blue, perhaps?
I wasn't really sure, but it had like a very, very strong silver to it.
All right.
But that's the only thing I can remember. I don't remember anything else happening.
In a sense, what you are recalling is the interior of the craft, and at least seeing one being. Not bad.
But that's then the only other thing I remember was what seemed to be pyramids.
In a sense, they are representational crystalline templates in that way.
That's all I can remember. I don't remember anything else.
All right. Not yet. You will. Do not invalidate it. You were there. You all were there. We saw you. One moment, is that all?
That's all.
For now. One moment over there.
Bashar,
Yes.
could I just ask one favor that I will really try to concentrate later this evening? Could you devote a few milliseconds to help me come?
We will, in that sense, facilitate with that discovery.
Thank you.
And to you.
Bashar?
Over there, female.
Which female?
Sure.
Yes.
I
That one.
I was mostly with one being, a male, and in one particular room, and anytime I thought, gee, I should see the rest of the craft, I'd end up back in this room again.
Well, the idea is you had a particular visitor that was not from our society.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you speak up? I can't hear.
Okay.
Can you repeat for the benefit of those present?
I was with one particular male, and I felt a very, very strong connection with him. And anytime I thought I should see the rest of the craft, I would end up in this one particular room. And it seemed like the room had a lot of a control room or something, computers.
In a sense, what you might loosely label, to be one of the smaller conference areas. But the idea is, in the instance of this particular individual, the individual she was interacting with was not a member of our society. It was, shall we say, a consciousness that she has been in communication with that was, in that sense, granting the idea of a personal, shall we say, meeting, discussion, through which much was, in that sense, shared and exchanged. Are you aware of any of it?
No, but just something, information, something with my brain, something, I guess that's why.
There was a bit of alignment in that way, but you will begin to know what occurred.
Thank you.
And to you, over there, female. Yes, you.
Does the name Ayutha or Aiutha mean anything?
Can you pronounce it?
Ayutha?
Proceed with what you are sharing, and then in that sense, if there is a reference, we will provide it.
Well, this wasn't having to do with this experience right now, but 2 weeks before I came here, when I was dreaming, before I woke up in the morning, there was a man's face right in front of me, and he said, "Remember this name."
That is another guide altogether.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Will you share your experience?
Well, I saw the gray mist, and I saw light, like we were coming to a very light place, and I felt a lot of things. I felt a lot of love, but I didn't see anything.
All right. Very often individuals will bring back and interpret these experiences in different ways. Therefore, simply again validate what you did get. Allow yourself to submerge or submerge yourself in the emotional aspect of it. Pictures will follow.
Thank you.
And to you. Anyone else?
Bashar.
You.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, greetings.
Going up into the ship, I didn't get a real feeling of that space or what it, you know.
Do, by the way, understand that more literally you travel nowhere. Space and time literally move around you. So do not despair if you did not feel literal movement. That is an illusion in and of itself.
Your speaking, and when you communicated, it always came into my thoughts where if I was having a fear about something, and you always soothe that fear. And eventually, what I ended up doing was just hugging beings, and all I wanted to do was connect with the eyes, and all I could really feel were arms and, you know, basically eyes. And eventually, I met up with a child. It seemed like a small being, and we went together, and mostly I just saw like colors and like a fog kind of. You know, it was very foggy, but there were colors coming in and out with this child, and there was a tremendous love between this child and myself. And when it was time to leave, it was hard to let go, and it almost felt like the being's arms were stretching out, you know, that I was bringing the arms back with me.
In a sense, it represents in one way the child within you right now. In another entirely more literal sense, it represents a life yet to be for you. Did that translate?
I translated, I just don't know how to process it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bashar.
Yes, female.
Yes, when I got into the craft, it had the same crystal pyramids that this fellow sitting next to me described. And one of the outstanding images was, I said, well, since this isn't a very big space, is it possible to have a grand piano in here? And immediately I was presented with a huge grand piano that was twinkling with crystals.
Oh, how exciting. A regular interdimensional Liberace.
And so then I started to play. Many beings were in there, and they all encouraged me to play. And the sound of the music was something like the girl up in the front row. You know, it was very visual.
The idea also being that the sound range extended both below and above what you label to be your perceptive range of hearing. So there was a lot more going on than perhaps you realized.
Well, I was looking at the bubbles that are constant flow in your fish tank, and these little crystal bubbles, just continual flow of them. Well, that's what the music sounded like. It was also music that I mean, it was a lot of it. I mean, it was very exciting because if I could just attempt to play it, I feel like running to a piano right now and see if I can do it. You know?
Well, perhaps you will find that to be quite simple, but also understand from our perspective, not very often do we have human musicians visit, so therefore it was quite a joy for us as well.
And so then I asked to be taken to the transformation chamber or tank. And so that was a tank that I thought of when I was about 12 years old. in real life. You know, I mean, in this.
Again, realize the room you are within is also, again, and we will simply label it for convenience, it is not accurate, the holodeck room, and anything in that sense that you perceive of, you simply, quote-unquote, seem to call into existence. The pyramidal templates, in a sense, are representational of the style of machinery that allows the projection of your thoughts in this way.
Well, actually, the room appeared to be somewhat like an undersea cave as well, with crystals and just studded in all of the walls.
Very good. Again, an interpretation of the crystalline nature of, shall we say, the structure itself.
And then I asked to be taken to the transformation tank, and so they immediately said, oh yes, you know, they didn't say it in words, but I was immediately shown this thing. And I was put into it, and they gave me all the new parts that I need. Like, I got a brand new pancreas, and I got, you know, they healed my broken coccyx, and you know, and all of a sudden, like, it was great. It just happened like zip.
By the way, if you will truly act as though these ideas are healed, they are.
You know, except that right now my coccyx is hurting more than it was before I did this.
And if you truly felt healed, you would simply not ascribe that to the same old problem. You would say, oh, here comes another bodily adjustment to the transformational energy again, and move on. It all has to do with your attitude and what you are willing to assign any of your creations. If you assign your creations, if they be pain, with here that comes again, you are the one that imbues it with the momentum of having to do with that old pain. Therefore, if you simply see yourself as healed, restored, if you will, and proceed, and whatever occurs, simply look at it through new eyes as a person already healed. The pain in and of itself will take on different significances, deliver to you different messages rather than the same messages which once you have gotten, since the pain has stayed, they were obviously not the message. And you can transform this most quickly if you will, and listen, allow it.
And there was one other thing, and that is that we were forming into a great big crystal ball where all of us were part of that, you know, in the beginning.
Yes.
There was one really bright crystal that was sort of pulsating and really, really bright. And then another crystal appeared beside it, and at that point you said something about these can be part of the people in this room, or something along those lines. And I saw that Andrew's wife, Sandy, was one of the crystals, and I was the other one, and we were like maybe sisters, or a sister, not to be pretentious, but like sister goddesses, you know what I mean?
We understand. Very good. It is, in a sense, the essence of you.
So anyway, that was very beautiful to see that.
Oh, thank you very much. Is that all?
Yeah.
And we thank you for your sharing. Who else?
Bashar.
Yes. Greetings.
And no one's mentioned the park, my favorite part of the ship. And I went to the park and I visited the dolphins mostly.
Oh, thank you.
The other most strong sensation was a sensation of love and warmth in the eyes. Mostly just many, many eyes.
The eyes have it.
Yeah. And I was also given, or handed, a metal cylindrical object. And it kind of just was real fleeting.
It was a model. In a sense, it represented the craft itself, but it also represented an idea that was to have entered your consciousness fairly recently, that being viewing yourself as a cylinder. Do you recall? Well, all right, but do you? The idea of your consciousness being represented in cylindrical form and in being born into this reality, being pressed through what you might label a spiral cookie cutter, so to speak, that allows you to seem, in a sense, like a rolled jelly roll. And understanding that although the totality of your being exists within that cylinder, the idea of timing in this particular reality, before, during, after, and unfoldment, can be likened to discovering yourself rather than as the cylinder itself, as bits of the cylinder unrolling a bit at a time. Do you understand the reference?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that all?
Yes.
For now.
For now.
There will be more communications through your writing.
Yes. Thank you.
And we thank you as well.
Yes, I've enjoyed the last two weeks immensely.
As have we, the parts that we have participated within, though there are others who are mostly in that sense involved.
Yes. Yes, and I tend to also not just do the writing, but to have some
All right. And we thank you for your ongoing willingness to interact on the many levels that you define yourself to be. There will be but a few more moments left to this interaction. Sharing. Yes, over there, female.
Hi.
Hi.
I felt I was there instantly, and I was waiting very eagerly to see me. And I spent most of my time talking to her, and I know a lot of information passed between us, and I was aware.
You were involved, by the way, with two individuals, one being Aya, and the other being another male.
I wasn't aware of anybody else.
You will.
Okay. I was aware that a lot more time had passed than I was consciously remembering.
This is what we mean by you will. Much of that will unfold.
Yeah, and a lot more information went in than I.
It was, shall we say, in quite a crunched state, and as you uncrunch it, so to speak, there will seem to be more there than originally went in.
Okay. I felt like I didn't want to waste time looking around the ship. I just wanted to talk to her.
Oh, would not have been a waste, but we understand the emphasis.
I remember the light was beautiful. Really, really beautiful. And I said I wanted to see you, so she took me by the hand and took me to where you were. And it was very emotional.
Did you notice our, again, repose upon the projection table? All right.
And I just hugged you for a long time. And you gave me something which I think is a rolled up piece of paper.
In a sense. Again, it is symbolic. The idea being that the information will come a bit at a time as you unfurl it, unfold
that's how I saw it.
That is the idea. It is more, again, a symbol than a literal gift.
And I felt that I'd brought it back with me. Yeah, that's how I saw it. And I really didn't want to leave.
Then perhaps you will return, but again, one of the parameters that will facilitate your being able to do so will be to just as responsibly enjoy the reality you have chosen. For it will never be, shall we say, our propensity to offer our realm as an escape, which is an invalidation, but simply we will accept visitors who are already at home with themselves. That is one of the reasons for, again, the beginning interaction.
Okay. The one thing I can't figure out now is the back of my neck and my shoulders ache. And I don't know why since I've been back here.
All right. There are particular alignments taking place. They are being perceived at this moment as misalignments. Simply allow the energy, whatever you perceive to be energetic, through. Do not block it, do not stop it. You will notice in your willingness to literally blast an energetic hole out of the top of your head, please, only energetically. For there to be the clearing of that stoppage, in a sense. All right?
Yes, thank you.
And to you. Male.
Sure.
Yes.
There's something that I, quote, forgot. I realize now I didn't really forget. I intentionally didn't.
All right, it is simply timing. Do proceed.
All right. I was given a gift when I was there, a pendant shaped like a triangle, clear, with a small blue globe in the center, with sparkling pink clouds, as it were.
And in a sense, radiations out to each apex of the triangle.
That's right. And when I took it off my person, then it would become the same thing, but a pyramid which I found interesting. It gained dimension, in other words.
In a sense, loosely speaking, you may say that there is the idea of the wearing state and the rest state.
Then when I was returning to the planet, I observed that the planet was itself like a beautiful pendant in space.
And beautiful emerald crystal.
Blue again with the white swirls. I felt that perhaps the pendant signified the old earth and the earth being born. Perhaps the pink associated with love. At any rate, I would like to lovingly thank you for the gift.
Oh, and you as well, for the gift, all of you, of your presence upon our craft. In general, as an addition to what we have shared, and we will go into some more detail about this in future interactions. Of the many decks that comprise our mother craft, the outer shell, shall we say, is what you might label semi-permeable. Now again, we use this particular vernacular and it is not exactly precise. But the idea is that it is permeable because it is, shall we say, more or less speaking, the hangar bay, where different types of spacecraft, both from our civilization and the civilization of others, with which we associate, will enter the craft through the outer shell. In that outer shell will be a representation of what you loosely call a hangar bay to park the vessel, so to speak. But there will also be the idea of varying chambers within which we can create the many different pressures and atmospheres of the many civilizations, so that individuals, when visiting our craft, can be comfortable as well. Shedding.
Bashar.
Yes.
I want you to tell me if what I saw is right.
Well, all right, but to understand it is right, perhaps we will be able in that sense to make an identification from our perspective of what you experienced. But your experience was valid and correct in that sense.
I believe I saw, as I got there, people, but in like a triangular shape. Is that true?
In what way?
I just saw them being like going out in a triangle.
Well, the idea being that the triangle in and of itself is one of the key vibrational symbols that represents our society. So perhaps you were simply superimposing that idea, yes.
And then I think I asked people to come to me rather than me going to them. And what came into my mind, I wanted to see children. And I was with children and just kind of mostly stayed with the children.
All right, very exciting. It was to them.
Yeah, I think we played or we ran around, I think. But
there were a few adults there.
Yeah.
Always like to play.
Yeah. And basically that's it.
Oh, very exciting. Was nice to have you.
Thank you.
At this timing, allow us to once again remind you that you are already home. Home exists within you. Were you not able on some level to grasp that idea emotionally, we would not have been able in that sense to invite you to our craft. So understand on some level, whether you perceive it to be concretely or simply conceptually, you do understand that home is within you. When you come in that sense, quote unquote, come upon our craft, one of the reasons that there's even the ability to feel the love, feel the familiarity, and feel at home is because you are always. And it is simply a matter of allowing yourself to realize that idea. Upon our craft, with an understanding of the ilk of our civilization, individuals simply allow themselves to feel at home. You can understand that that was a conscious choice. You allowed yourself to feel at home. Therefore, anywhere, any when you ever are, You always have as one of the choices in any now moment to feel at home. You do not literally move throughout your life. Your life literally moves around you. Space and time literally move around you. Therefore, by extension, you are always home. Always. We bid you a most unconditionally fond and loving good evening.